Good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner Bell. Today is Tuesday, January 4th, 2022, and we'll call this meeting to order at 8 a.m. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute your phones. You can do this by pressing star 6. Please unmute yourself when called on to speak, again pressing star 6. It's very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you. So welcome to the Community Updates call, and we'll start with the Board of Commissioners roll call. Commissioner Yamamoto, are you with us this morning?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. And Commissioner Scar.
Yes, I am. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. We don't have Eric Swanson from Adventist Health Tillamook this morning, and so we will jump right into the Coastal Caucus. Senator Anderson, are you with us this morning?
I am. Thank you. And let me start with wishing everyone in Tillamook County a safe and healthy new year, and encourage a continued degree of caution given the weather. I noted yesterday I was in Hebo helping a friend who had the unfortunate occasion of having a tree fall on his home and pickup. So high water, soft ground, and wind still makes for a treacherous situation. So the only other thing I have is letting people know that next week the legislative days for January are occurring, and that's a time where interim committees meet. No real decisions made, but a lot of presentations and updates from agencies and just people in general. So stay safe, and we should be safe because no decision is being made with your legislative body. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Representative Weber, are you with us this morning?
Good morning. Suzanne Weber here.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Have you noticed that we have a little more light each morning? It's kind of interesting how things have changed. I guess the most important thing, besides wishing everyone a really happy new year, is to remind everyone that we get notifications on when these storms are coming, but we're not going to have any kind of a notification if we have an earthquake situation. And so I'd like to remind everyone to look at their stores of what they plan to use to keep safe and to sustain themselves if that earthquake comes, and to make sure that it's not October, it's not June, it's not the times when we think about those things, but it's now in the midst of storm weather that we should be also looking at those additional supplies that we need to amass to be able to survive. I'm also very concerned about our COVID hospitalizations, and it's unfortunate that Eric is not able to be here to give a report this morning, because I think it would be eye-opening to a lot of people as to the number of cases we have, and I know Ed will also tell us about that. I just wanted you to know also that in the scheme of things, I have been talking about renter relief and relief for our landlords for a long time, and our state agencies' difficulties in managing to get that money out to the people who are in need of it. At this point in time, 30,000 Oregon families have received rental assistance during this time of COVID, to the tune of about $411 million, and working extremely hard, they have released $10 million a week for the last 5 weeks of 2021. And I really want to call out our own CARE organization for all of the hard work that they did in managing this and managing the forms that came to them to be able to be processed. I also want to go back to New Year's Eve. Annie Bishop and the Tillamook Revitalization Association did a great New Year's Eve celebration in the 2nd Street Plaza with the ball drop and with the help of the fire department and various other groups within the community. And I really want to acknowledge them for being able to do this in the middle of the winter in the dark time. And so thank you, Annie Bishop and the Tillamook Revitalization Association for doing that. And as Senator Anderson said, next week we will be beginning legislative days, ledge days as we commonly call them. And we have committee meetings scheduled for all week long, and everything will be virtual. So I will be continuing to sit at my desk with my computer, and it is an opportunity to once again to be able to contribute and to be able to welcome the public into our meetings also. So you can always go to OLIS and you can find these meetings and you can see what is being discussed, what bills are being considered to be brought forward, what agencies are giving reports, because this is commonly the time when state agencies especially give the reports to the legislature on things that have happened while we have not been in session. Representative Gomber had an extensive list in his newsletter on the new laws that are taking effect as of January 1st. So it's a very concise list, and I would encourage you to look at that and read that. And with that, once again saying Happy New Year, I will conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Commissioners, and good morning, Tillamook County, and welcome back, Commissioners. I join my colleagues in wishing everyone a Happy New Year. Susan and I celebrated the New Year on New York time. That's becoming more and more the norm for us these days. But gosh, I look back over the last week and a half, and the weather has thrown just about everything they've got at us, except perhaps droughts and heat waves. We've had the snow, we've had the floods, we've had the rain, we've had the wind. I just want to take a moment and give a shout out to all of our first responders and utility workers that have been out there in that weather, helping people that have had accidents, trying to get our power restored, keeping our roadways open. Really, really appreciate all of those good folks that go out in the weather to protect all the rest of us. Well, as Representative Weber mentioned, with the new year came the implementation of a number of pieces of legislation that was passed during the session last year. I always like to remind people that while we had a couple of high-profile measures that had a fair amount of controversy and conflict, most bills that passed overwhelmingly and with a bipartisan support. Those bills going into effect right now ranging across the spectrum, everything you could probably think of, from making our public meetings open and accessible online or by telephone, and making that a requirement rather than just the past practice. At the other end of the spectrum of unusual things that may get people's attention, Oregon now allows the composting of human remains. That's right. Under the old law, you could be buried or you could be cremated, but this new process of accelerating the process by which you can go back to nature is now another option under Oregon statute. I'm not going to go through the full list with you this morning, Commissioners, but I will tell you that the Oregon Policy and Research Operation in the Capitol has a number of different summary sheets broken out by subject area, and that's available to you if you want to see what laws were passed dealing with healthcare or education or public safety or transportation. All of those are available. If you can't find them in the legislative information system, drop any one of us a note, and we'll get you linked up. Senator Anderson talked about being prepared, and we urge everybody to be 2 weeks ready for any kind of natural disaster. But along those lines, one of the changes that I'm hoping to facilitate when we get back into legislative session in February will be providing some funds to help upgrade our hospitals, because up and down the coast right now, the studies indicate that most of our hospitals only have 2 to 3 days supply, 2 or 3 days supply of drinking water or propane to run their generators. We're asking families to be 2 weeks ready. I'd like to see our hospitals, our fire departments, our public facilities be a month ready. I know that the expense that to look at and plan for things that you hope will not happen when you're faced with so many short-term expenses on things that you know will happen. But I want to see if I can get some money from some of those federal sources to help upgrade our water supplies, particularly in our hospitals. Because when that earthquake does land on us, people that are injured are going to go to the hospitals, of course, but people that are displaced by the tsunami are going to go to those gathering points as well. And we want to make sure that they are prepared with the water and fuel they need to help people that are in need. Representative Weber touched on the fact that we're getting dollars out the door now for tenants and for landlords. And you know that because we were behind schedule, we actually had to go into special session last month to extend the opportunity to provide those dollars. The first thing I want to mention is that there was a change so that landlords are actually getting 100% of the past due rent rather than only 80%. That's a change a number of us worked for, and was glad to see that implemented. The other thing is, again, just a pat on the back to the good folks in Tillamook County, because in Tillamook County, the waiting list is probably the shortest in the state right now for applying for and then getting those dollars. If I'm not mistaken, it was just a couple of weeks in Tillamook County, but in Multnomah County, people were waiting up to 120 days after filling out their applications to have them reviewed and to get the checks cut. So we're doing a good job out here, and I'm pleased with that. You heard that legislative days are coming up very quickly. That will be followed almost immediately with the short legislative session. Most of your listeners know that in Oregon we meet every year, but in odd-numbered years we meet for a long session, considering a lot of bills and passing a 2-year budget. In even-numbered years, like this year, we only meet for 1 month, and we're limited to the number of bills we can introduce. There's been some criticism that in the short session, it's supposed to be kind of a fine-tuning, small issue kind of opportunity, but people have brought big bills forward. There's no limit on what we can write. We're limited on the number of bills we can write, but not what the content is. But I would say that for a big controversial bill to pass, it's going to be difficult, since in 1 month, it means that they have to pass a committee the first week to get to the floor the second week, to go to the second committee and the third week and get to the second floor and the fourth week. And if a bill has got any kind of resistance, controversy, or problem, it's going to have difficulty getting to the finish line in that amount of time. So short session coming up. The building will be open. Our offices will be open. The only thing not open is the committee meeting rooms, because they are still undergoing seismic construction and refits. But I'm glad that the public will be able to come to the building, sit in the galleries, watch what's going on, or if you prefer, you can sit home and watch it all online or listen to it on your phone. The meetings will be broadcast both electronically, and the floor sessions will be held in person. So that's my report for today. We're 1 legislator short right now, and I'm hoping to see that seat filled soon with the vacancy created by Senator Johnson's resignation. But for now, if anybody has any questions for the 3 of us, I know we'll be happy to try and answer them.
Do we have any questions for the Coastal Caucus? Well, if not, I just want to mention that Representative Weber said something about the New Year's Eve celebration on the 2nd Street Plaza in Tillamook, and I wasn't able to attend, but I just wanted to mention that we have Representative Weber to thank for the Second Street Plaza in Tillamook. When she was the mayor of Tillamook, she argued for that to become a plaza for community events, and she took a lot of flack for it in the community and on social media. And I think it was a visionary thing that she worked on, and it's turned out wonderfully, and I'm really glad that she fought for it when she did, so thank you. With that, we'll move on to Tillamook County Community Health Centers.
Good morning. This is Marlene Putman today. Ed Colson is off today, so I'm back to covering the report, so bear with me. I'm a little bit out of practice on giving the report, but we've got our great information per normal. So our case count for this last week was 41 positive cases of COVID-19, and that's December 31 through January 2, so just that Friday through Sunday. The weekend case count, our 7-day case count is 91, 14 days, 118 positive cases. So our December total is 256, almost 300, which is almost, 53% more cases in December versus November, and over 100 more cases in December versus October, just so you can get an idea that we are seeing definitely an increase in positive cases. The disease severity to date, we have had 49 deaths from COVID-19. 40 are confirmed not vaccinated. 1 had no vaccine record, and 8 are fully vaccinated. For people who want specific details, please go to the OHA site and you'll receive more information there. I do have a breakdown by month for the deaths that have occurred in our community for people that are interested, or if commissioners would like me to share that today. The test positivity rate also this December 26th through January 1 was 18.7%. The previous 7-day period was 7.9%. So we are seeing an increase also in test positivity. We do have some active outbreaks, 5 confirmed and 14 that are pending with investigation. So right now we have 19 outbreaks that are under monitoring. And again, that information is also available on the Oregon Health Authority COVID-19 homepage for those that want detail. The breakthrough rate, which people are also often interested in, so statewide from the Oregon Health Authority, December 19th through December 25th, we had 63.3 of new COVID-19 cases were not vaccinated versus 36 were vaccine breakthrough, 36% were vaccine breakthrough cases, almost 37%. We continue to provide testing for people that are interested in receiving a COVID-19 test. The testing remains available from the health center and our public health team at our 8th Street Acute Care Clinic. And that's Wednesday. This week, it's Wednesday through Friday. Next week will be available 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, because of the increase in calls that we're getting and the increase in people that need to have these tests. Also, testing is available at Adventist Health Urgent Care and our Reinhardt Clinic in North County. So you have some other testing options, hopefully, that are going to become available soon, and maybe Eric Swanson already mentioned this, but Adventist Health will be providing home tests to the public. Stay tuned about their availability. We are waiting with our public health team on whether we're going to receive those additional testing kits to make them available to the public. Expect to have more information in the coming weeks, according to the Oregon Health Authority. There is, for, again, people who are doing home testing or people who have questions about what is the new guidance around isolation and quarantine. So isolation for those who test positive and quarantine for those exposed to someone who has COVID-19. They were updated by the CDC and adopted by the Oregon Health Authority. The information is available on our webpage. We also provide it on Facebook. I'm not going to try to read through those different scenarios here. It just would take way too long. So if you're interested, you test positive at home, or you have been exposed to someone COVID-19, look at that information on our page. Just click on the information section. With regard to our vaccine update, so just by way of a reminder, one of the most important actions we can take to protect ourselves and families and our community is to be fully vaccinated. So if you're able, please get a booster shot if you've already been fully vaccinated, and that will also help us reduce the spread and protect against disease severity, including hospitalization and death. So let's see now who's eligible. We've had a few questions from people about that. So people that are eligible for a booster dose specifically. So those 18 plus years old, 6 months from completion of the Moderna series, 16 and older if you're 6 months from completion of the Pfizer series. I know this can be confusing, but we do have this information available on our site as well. For those 18 years and older, 2 months from a single dose of Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So those groups are eligible for a booster. For those who have moderate to severely compromised immune systems, who receive their third dose of Moderna and Pfizer, so you can get an additional dose at least 6 months after your last dose. Our current vaccination rates, so for our vaccine for eligible populations 16 years and older, we're at 82.48%, almost 82.5%, 12 and older at 78%, and our total county population using 26,530 people as our figure there is 68.3%. That's people with at least one dose. Fully vaccinated numbers are slightly lower as we're waiting for people to, get that time period to pass and to get their second dose. Vaccine sites are still available throughout the county for people that are looking for boosters or even your initial dose or second dose. The Community Health Center and our public health team, we're continuing to provide vaccines at the fairgrounds. We're now providing those on every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., just changing our hours up a little bit. We do have Pfizer and Moderna vaccine, first, second, and third doses, and pediatric Pfizer and flu and pneumonia vaccines too are available. You can get the pneumonia and flu shots at the same time that you receive your COVID-19 vaccine. We are also providing vaccines through our Community Health Center main clinic if you go in for your office appointment, or if you're just wanting to schedule an appointment, you can call our office there. Also, Adventist Health has some updated information on their page, so check that out. At the Plaza and the Women and Family Health and Occupation Medicine offices, they are providing vaccines Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5, and Fridays, 8 to 3. Pacific City also has vaccines at their clinic there, Adventist Health Clinic in Pacific City from 8 to 5, and Reinhardt Clinic in North County weekly by appointment. And just a reminder too, vaccines are still available through your local pharmacies, Safeway, Fred Meyer, and Tillamook Pharmacy, and statewide pharmacies have vaccines available. So if you're trying to find a site, you're not in Tillamook County, or you're going other places, you can also look that up on a website, and our website also. By way of reminder, tillamookchc.org, under the COVID-19 vaccine page, you can also call 211. And with that, that is my report for Tillamook County on our COVID-19 case report and community update. Happy to take any questions or take any notes and get back to you with responses. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you. So, Marlene, if you watch the news, you're seeing just tremendous, huge lines of people wanting to get tested. Are we seeing that at all in Tillamook County or in the state of Oregon, where people have to wait in line for hours to get a test?
I don't know around the state of Oregon. I do know that there is an increased demand for testing across the state. I don't know how long people have to wait. We are seeing an increase in people that are seeking testing, as well as questions about testing, wanting to get home kits, and home testing kits not being available in Tillamook County. We just expect to see a continued increase and are hopeful about home kits being available to the public so that people can test at home if they choose to. So again, I don't know how long people are having to wait. I just expect that we'll continue to see an increased demand, and thus we're continuing to keep our clinics open.
Thank you, Marlene. And you bring up another question. So you talk about home tests. What is the efficacy? How accurate are the home tests versus a test you would get at the health clinic or Adventist Health doctor's office?
Well, from the home kits that are available that I'm aware of, and again, I'm just talking about the Binax now that we use for people that have been exposed to someone or that are symptomatic, they do have a false negative rate, but people that have symptoms should test and see if they test positive in that with the kit, and they can get that confirmed with their doctor if they choose to, or again, follow the guidance for isolation, quarantine. Other tests are available around the United States, and there are different rates of efficacy for each one. People should just be aware of the kit that they purchase in the store to check to see how it should be best be used. We also have in clinics typically that confirm it. It's what's called a PCR test, and those take a little bit longer for the test results to come back. They're just not the 15-minute rapid test. So again, if you're concerned, if you have symptoms, especially if you have severe symptoms, don't wait to find a home test. Talk to your doctor or go to urgent care or emergency if you're experiencing symptoms, because they can increase rapidly, especially if you're not vaccinated. So please go to a doctor right away.
Thank you, Marlene, for that information, and especially for everything that you do for Tillamook County.
Thank you. And please, folks, if you're waiting for test kits to come out and be available to the public, I mentioned earlier, we don't know if it's going to be a week or weeks. I'm not sure what is happening with the hospital testing, but we understand it's not available yet. People are calling us to ask about it. So stay tuned by looking at our Facebook or webpage and Adventist Facebook page to see when those are actually going to be available. So thanks for letting me add that to your comment.
Thank you, Marlene. Something I've been wondering about is with the widespread use of home testing, I think it's reasonable to assume that not all of those folks are being counted. They're not reporting if they've tested positive. And I wonder if OHA or any organization has come up with an estimate for what percentage of positive tests are happening at home that aren't being counted. Like, how much higher are our numbers, presumably? Do you have any idea about that?
It really does vary across the state, and I expect that the Oregon Health Authority will have a strategy. Right now, for public health, we aren't required to take results from people that have tested positive or negative at home. And we're not doing so just because we don't have the capacity. We want to make sure we get vaccines and testing out to people in Tillamook County. Some of our Tillamook County residents may note that Clatsop and Lincoln County are starting to take positive results from home tests. So their disease positivity rates are going to increase because they're only recording, at least my understanding, is positive test results, not the negative. And those will be added to their total case count. So if you see that and do some comparison, that will help people understand a little bit why the rates are different among counties. But there isn't a consistent practice across the state of Oregon at this time. Hopefully more to come from the Oregon Health Authority with guidance around the best way and capacity to begin to gather that information if possible. Good question. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, and nice to hear from you this morning. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Bell, may I make a comment or two?
Oh, please.
So Commissioner Scar. I just wanted to, I know we didn't have Eric this morning to talk about hospitalizations, but I was just sort of looking at the data, and I really wanted to punch this point home. When I looked at the hospitalizations from December the 28th, so that's not very long ago, there were 398 people hospitalized across the state of Oregon. When I look at the numbers from January 3rd, which is yesterday, the most recent numbers, there are 498 people hospitalized across the state of Oregon with COVID. So I think it's just a really important thing for us to realize. We talk a lot about case counts, and case counts are important, but what we're certainly hearing about Omicron is that it is much more easily spread. We are seeing it spread more widely, more rapidly, and the real question is, with the vaccine rates, what will the hospitalizations do? And I just think it's important that we do keep our eye on that, because that is the piece that drives when we are out of capacity, when we are really in a crisis situation for taking care of people who are severely ill. And I think it's important to note that in approximately a week's time, we have added 100 hospitalizations across the state of Oregon. So 498 is still below the 1,200-ish that happened with the peak of Delta, but the growth is rapid, and I encourage people to keep that in mind as they think, oh, well, it's okay. You know, we're vaccinated, we're going to be safe. Recognize hospitalizations are still rising rapidly, and we want to make sure there's capacity to care for everyone. We don't know what our local hospital numbers are without Eric, but looking online, it's recorded as less than 10 COVID in our hospital currently. So that was the best I could find on the dashboards, but also recognize that OHA has some amazing dashboards available. If you are a bit of a data wonk and you really want to know more, you can go to their website, the oregon.gov/OHA, and they have an entire COVID section where you can keep track of what is happening. So please stay informed. I think it's good for all of us. And the other thing I want to highlight is that our public health department is working extremely hard. We talk about this a lot, but capacity is a challenge. So I know that there may be people out there who are saying, but I've called the health department and nobody's answering the phone. I can't get a call back. I want to hold up Marlene and her staff and just say they are taking messages as fast as they can, and they are returning phone calls as fast as they can, while they are also administering vaccines and also administering tests. Please take the time yourself to go to their website, go to their Facebook page, look for the information you need online before you pick up the phone and call and then become frustrated that you can't reach someone. We simply are manning the phones as fast as we can and as best we can with the staffing load and the workload that exists. So Marlene, thank you for all you're doing. We appreciate that. And please know that we are pushing out information in ways where people can find it themselves because of what we know is a bottleneck on telephones at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have Gail Nelson on the line this morning from the Reinhardt Clinic?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year, everyone. And thank you, Marlene and the commissioners, for your updates and this discussion. It's always very informative and educational. I do appreciate that. At the Reinhardt, we will conduct a COVID vaccine event Monday, January 17th at the North County Recreation District in Nehalem. It will be held from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Details and registration information are available on our website and also our Facebook page. And of course, we continue to conduct COVID testing and have the vaccines available. And yes, we too have seen increased calls about whether our pharmacy has home test kits available, and are experiencing the similar sorts of questions here. But otherwise, please do not hesitate to call us with any questions or concerns that you have. If you're experiencing COVID symptoms, our staff can be reached at 800-368-5182. And that's my update for this morning. As finally, though, we will continue our transition to our new name of the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy over the course of the coming year. And this should now also include our weekly calls with the county commissioners and the county. So thank you.
Thank you, Gail. So noted. We'll change it on the agenda. And thank you for your report.
Thank you, too.
move on to Frank Hanna-Williams. Are you with us this morning?
I am, Commissioners, and thank you very much. Tillamook Family Counseling Center, Frank Hanna-Williams, Director, Behavioral Health Services for Tillamook County residents. As I hear the information that's being presented today, I'm reminded of the amount of anxiety that sometimes people express when they're, especially over the past few weeks when they've been calling. And of course, it's very helpful to be able to have good, accurate information like the information that's been presented today, information in which people can take it upon themselves to be able to get the information that they need in order to settle themselves down and to help themselves move into the next phase of how they're going to handle things. So being able to call, being able to get the information that's being discussed today regarding what's available on the website is very helpful before making, as Commissioner Scar says, before making those calls and feeling very anxious about not getting a call back. So this is very helpful and will be very helpful for our staff as we field those calls and field those questions that people have who are already engaged with us for service. We can be reached at 503-842-8201. Again, Behavioral Health Services for Tillamook County residents. And we'll take any questions that you may have now.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Frank? If not, we'll say thanks and we'll move on to the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Brown, are you with us this morning?
This is Matt. The Sheriff's not available. He's tied up on a call, so I'm standing in for him.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning. Not a whole lot to report. Obviously, the weather is a big topic right now. Make sure you're safe when you're driving around, plan your trip. We've had some incidents on Highway 6. The road's still pretty bad, and then when you're going to play in the snow, make sure you have the right vehicle to do that. We've had the search and rescue team out there a couple times in the last week, getting people that are stranded in the snow. So make sure you have the right vehicle to go up there. People know where you're at, or go with a buddy so that when you get stuck, because you probably are going to get stuck in 3 feet of snow, somebody can help you get out. And make sure your vehicle's prepared, snow tires, the snow and the ice is cleared off it, your backup cameras are cleared, so you can travel safely and plan your trip ahead of time. That's really all I have at this time, ma'am.
Thank you, Under Sheriff. Hey, would you want to say a word about driving through high water? Because yesterday we had the King Tide event with additional unanticipated. Maybe Gordon can tell us the name for it, but we had king tides and an additional 2 feet of tide brought ashore by storms in the ocean, and so there was water on the road in multiple places, and I just wondered, what's your advice for driving through water?
It's a very bad idea. One, you don't know what's underneath that water or how deep it truly is. It doesn't take a lot of water to start changing the weight of your vehicle. You can get lifted off the road and go off in the ditch. The best thing is, I know it's time consuming, but to go back and go around the other way, there's most places in the county you can get to where you need to go. It just might take you longer. At the very least, it's going to damage your vehicle going through that high water, but it's very unsafe and you get stranded and the engine will die and you can't get through the water. So just take the long way around sometimes. That's the best policy. I know in the area I live, when the river comes up, I have to go on a logging road to get to work. So take your time and don't do it.
Thank you, Under Sheriff Kelly. I appreciate it. Do we have Gordon McCraw on the line this morning?
Yes, ma'am, you do. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I need to thank Representative Weber for the earthquake preparedness message this morning. Now, though, I'm going to talk about my usual weather issues. We're in another week, and now I'm going to brief yet another storm system. This winter seems to be the gift that just keeps on giving. Today we have a weak low pressure system moving onshore that'll bring us some rain, but the coast range will be seeing another 2 to 5 inches of snow, hopefully above the pass levels though this time, maybe up to above 2,000 feet. The Weather Service has issued a winter weather advisory until 6 p.m. today as a result of this, and for us, we'll be seeing scattered showers. It'll give us another quarter to 3/4 of an inch of rain. As you mentioned, we're still in a period of king tides, though, and the highest tide levels were yesterday. With the forecast today, the Garibaldi gauge is what I usually use. I've been using for years, so that gives me a standard to look at. It was 10.3 yesterday, and it had an anomaly is what the word you were looking for. It had an anomaly of 2 feet, positive 2 feet, which means that you have a forecast for the river. Forecast for the tides, which affect the river. And because of the wave action, the winds, and the additional rainwater pushing the river, was actually 2 than what the forecast was. So we were forecasting 10.3 feet, and it got up over 12 feet. And that caused some heavier flooding and tidal overflow flooding in some areas than we have seen in quite some time. As a result of the flooding again today, it won't be as severe as yesterday, but they've issued a coastal flood advisory from noon today through 3 p.m. As a result, the high tide today is around 1 o'clock. So that's the time where the water will be the highest and then receding after that. The next thing we're going to watch is a warm front and a potential atmospheric river event that is expected to bring in another round of rain starting later tomorrow morning or early tomorrow afternoon. This will push the snow levels up to around 4,000 feet by tomorrow afternoon and even higher by tomorrow night into Thursday. The system looks to bring another round of rain that will be heavy at times, especially by Thursday. And with the heavy rain combining with the melting snow, I expect the National Weather Service will soon be issuing a flood watch for much of the forecast area, not just Tillamook County, but there's many rivers that will be impacted by all this from the coast over to the Cascades. So we can watch that, and they'll probably even mention some of our rivers as some of our flashy rivers. I have been watching the river forecast over the past few days, and it's been up and it's been down, hanging though right around bank full, which means the rivers get all the way, or I should say up close to flood stage or just above flood stage, depending on which model they're looking at and what their current forecast is. Speaking of the current forecast, this morning, or just before we started here, the Nehalem River is forecasted to hit minor flood stage Thursday afternoon, cresting at 16.0 feet, which is about a foot above flood stage early Friday morning, then falling back down by Saturday morning. That would put it in a minor flood stage, just putting water in some of the farm fields in that area. The Wilson River is forecasted to hit bank full early Friday, reaching just or up to near flood stage, which is 12 feet on the Wilson River. It's forecasted to go to 11.64. The Trask River, Friday morning, is forecasted to go to 15.34. Flood stage there is 16.5. And then the Stucca River, which usually has much more capacity, crests early Friday at 12.14. Flood stage is 18 feet. The bottom line on all this is if you live in a flood-prone area, now is the time for you to plan for what you're going to do should the flooding actually occur. As I mentioned, I've seen the forecast be off as much as a couple of feet over the years, and in both directions. Sometimes it's been higher and sometimes it's been lower, but the best course of action right now is to plan for the worst and hope for the best. and that is what's turning into be your weekly heavy weather forecast. Unless somebody has any questions, thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. I appreciate the message about flood preparedness. I know that you didn't live in Oregon in '96, but a lot of folks who are on this call will remember the terrible flooding in 1996, and people have been talking about it this week because the circumstances were similar. There was a heavy early snowfall, and then days and days of rain, and it melted all that snow, and there was outrageous flooding, terrible flooding here in Tillamook County, but all over the state. And so I'm not ringing the alarm bells for a flood of '96, God forbid, but I really appreciate the warning that everybody should be prepared. Make sure that you have the things that you need, candles and propane if you have cook stoves and ground coffee and, you know, whatever it is that you need to be prepared at your home. We should all be prepared.
Yes, I concur. And also, if you're, like I said, if you're in a flood-prone area, don't wait until you can't get out to decide it's time to get out. I can remember years ago, and you mentioned '96. Remember, I got here in 2006, and in 2007 we had a similar situation where it had snowed heavy, and then we had the Pineapple Express, they used to be called. Now they call it Atmospheric River. Move in and melt all the snow, and we had 3 days of extremely high winds and high rainfall amounts that caused severe flooding, and we had to rescue many people from their homes. And what I've tried to do over the years is get the message out to people so that they can make an informed decision. But the key to it is, if you think you need to be concerned, then that means you are concerned, and the best course of action is just to plan on having someplace else to go rather than wait until you can't go. But yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Gordon. I'd like to mention that we have a new emergency manager who started yesterday. His name is Randy Thorpe, and we will have a good transition period with Randy and Gordon. So we'll look forward to introducing Randy on this call, perhaps next week or in the near future, and he'll be able to work together with Gordon to get us to speed. So welcome to Randy, and thank you, Gordon, for sticking in there with us through this winter and through this transition. With that, we will move on to the Oregon Department of Transportation. Do we have Bill Jablonski on the line with us today? Bill, if you're on the line, you may need to press *6 to get unmuted. Well, he may have had something come up, or Bill, if you're on the line, you can jump in later in the call. We'll move on now to the Board of Commissioners updates. Commissioner Yamamoto, would you like to go first?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it very much. So quite a few things going on at the county right now. Right after the first of the year, all of a sudden, all the department heads and commissioners and treasurer we're all thinking about budget. Budgets are coming up over the next month or two. We're going to be extremely busy. The department heads will be extremely busy as they're developing their budgets, something that we're all used to. We do have a little bit of a warning from the Department of Forestry, especially in Tillamook County, because of the loss of one of our major logging companies. We're going to be a little shy this year of what we thought we were going to be as far as timber revenue goes. I think we're moving on well, but there's going to be a little bit of a time of a reset while we get our logging companies back up to speed. So I just want to warn everyone out there that things may be a little short for the rest of this fiscal year when it comes to timber revenue. Kind of in the same vein, Tillamook Working Lands and Waters which is a grassroots organization here in Tillamook County made up of natural resource industry people, watershed councils, Oregon State University Extension. I've been a member since the inception. We've done tours in the past, and one of the tours that was the most memorable was when we brought 30-some commissioners from across the state of Oregon out to Tillamook County and took them on a Tillamook Working Lands and Waters tour. Well, we're going to do that again, and it looks like it's going to be the first weekend in June, and this is going to be kind of a big tour, actually. We've got the county college class, which graduated this year, and we didn't do it for the previous county college class. And so I know that we've got a lot of commissioners from across the state that have heard about our tour, really want to come on this tour. So this could be a very large tour, but it's terrific. We take them up on a working logging operation. We take them to a working dairy. This year we're going to be taking them to the Trask River Fish Hatchery, which is a new state-of-the-art fish hatchery here in Tillamook County, and state-of-the-art for the whole West Coast. So we're really looking forward to that. It's always a lot of fun, but also very educational especially for commissioners from across the state. Representative Gomberg mentioned kudos to ODOT and for keeping our road. And considering the extent of the winter storms we've been having, I too want to shout out to ODOT, who's done a terrific job. Tillamook County Public Works, who has also done just a great job of keeping our roads clear so we could travel. The Sheriff's Office, of course, search and rescue. So many people involved, especially during the winter months when we have such weather. And this year is kind of an exception because it seems to be starting off with a bang. One other thing I want to mention very briefly, and I always try to bring up the Linn County class action lawsuit. Oral arguments have now been set. Oral arguments for for this case are going to occur on February 22nd at the Oregon Court of Appeals. That should be very interesting. We'll see where this goes. But I think we're getting closer and closer and closer to possibly putting this to bed. You never know. I'm hopeful there. So other than that, Madam Chair, I appreciate the time this morning.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have any questions for Commissioner Yamamoto? If not, let's move on to Commissioner Scarr.
Good morning. Okay, a couple things I wanted to mention this morning. Just things that are happening here at the county. You all probably remember we talked about our ARPA proposal process, that we had invited folks to let us know what they felt the key community projects were that we would fund with our ARPA funding. Additionally, we asked for projects that they felt maybe didn't fit that funding but were key community projects that we might want to put forward to the state or the federal government as additional funding came through to those. That process has closed. We have received 108 proposals that are totaling approximately $90 million. And just a reminder, the county's allocation that we have is $5.3 million. So obviously this is a very challenging and competitive process that we will be going through in the next period of probably a month to look at each of those projects to determine if the ARPA funding is the best funding for them, if there may be other funding available now or coming that may be appropriate for them into the future, and then for us to prioritize and make decisions as to how we will allocate the $5.3 million that we have. So just let everybody know, a great amount of interest and a lot of requests for that money, and we will be working through the process over the next month. I wanted to also just let people know the Housing Commission will be meeting this week, and if it is always a public meeting, folks are invited to join us if you're interested in what the Housing Commission is up to. Additionally, this week, we will have a representative from Wyden's office who will be talking with us about some of the money that will be coming from the federal government. She'll give us a proposal or a presentation on that. So if you're interested to know where in the infrastructure bill there may be funding that is able to help with housing, Betsy will be sharing that information with us. And if you want to join the Housing Commission, if you go to the Tillamook County webpage, on our main page of the county, you will click on the government tab. You will see boards and committees. You'll see Housing Commission. If you click on that, it will show you the link where you can either join the meeting via Teams or you can call in. So I just invite people to join us, hear what we're doing in the county around housing, and hear what some of the federal funds may be coming down the pipe that will help us. Let's see, another thing I wanted to comment on, Highway 6. I know that there's been a lot of conversation, and Jesse Burrows and the Safety on 6 group is extremely active, working to make sure that the information is out there so people know what they can expect when they head over the hill. One of the things that Jesse had talked about with me was whether or not we could get a variable message sign to have at our end of Highway 6 to just remind people to be safe. So I'm working with Visit Tillamook Coast and Ann Devlin through our wayfinding project to see if we can find a location to put a permanent sign. So just know that will be probably not until next year by the time we get it worked through, but there is definitely a process underway to try to identify a location where we can put a sign that would allow us to put our own safety messaging. What we've learned is that ODOT is a fabulous partner, and they do have a sign on this end, but the messaging of that sign is controlled at a state level, and there are a very limited number of possible messages. So we're hoping that if we are able to use our transient lodging tax and create a sign on our end, we'd have a bit more control over what we put in the messaging. So just so you know, that is a project that we're working on. I'm going to flip back really quick to budget, which Commissioner Yamamoto was talking about, and the timber revenue, because I think it's important, and I don't know how many folks are really familiar with the county budget, but I invite people to become more familiar. At this point in time, when we talk about county budget, there's a lot of different revenue funds that we talk about, but I'm going to talk about general fund, because general fund is where your taxes come into the budget and where the timber revenue comes into the budget, and it is what is supporting your general government, which includes your tax assessor, it includes the county clerk's office, it includes the county commissioners, it includes your jail and your sheriff's department, a little bit of community development, a variety of other smatterings here and there, but it's the main portion of that. So when we talk about property tax, when we look at the fiscal year 22 budget, we had expected to have approximately $7.5 million in property tax to support general government. We also expected $4.7 million in timber revenue. So 40% of your general government budget is supported by timber revenue. So it's an important piece when Commissioner Yamamoto talks about, hey, we may have some reductions this year because of Fallon shutting down and timber sales not able to go through in the time period that we had intended them to go through or had hoped for. It's a very large impact to our county budget. So before I became a budget member of the county and then a county commissioner, I had no idea how we were funded. And it's super important to recognize that our taxes do not pay for everything that you all need to have the county operate just the state mandated services. So those timber revenues are super important. Hopefully during this budget process, some of you will join us in the budget hearings, learn a little bit more about our budget and understand how your county is funded, because we can only provide the services to you that we can afford to provide. So with that, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Commissioner Scar? If not, I'll ask for Bill Jablonski again before I say a few words. Well, hopefully he'll be able to join us next week. So I wanted to mention that on this call last week, I said that last week would be my last time chairing the call as the chair of the Board of County Commissioners. And I was mistaken because we rotate, the chair position rotates in the Board of County Commissioners. annually, and so I thought that it just started the first of the year, but in fact, it will start after this Wednesday's meeting. This Wednesday, we will appoint Commissioner Yamamoto as our chair for 2022, and so I will. This is my final time chairing this meeting, and next week Commissioner Yamamoto will chair. I'd like to follow up a little bit on. We've been talking about Senate District 16 and the process for replacing former Senator Betsy Johnson. So that we've talked about it the last couple of weeks. So where we're at in the process now is that the precinct committee people for the Democratic parties in 6 counties that are in Senate District 16 met over the last 2 days. And last night they came up with 3 candidates. And the candidates are Nadia Gardner from Clatsop County, Rachel Armitage from Columbia County, and Melissa Bush from Columbia County. So those are the 3 candidates that county commissioners will have the opportunity to vote on to replace former Senator Betsy Johnson. So I believe that we will be meeting on the January 14th, and presumably one of those people will be our next Senate District 16 senator, and they'll serve in that position for the following year, for the next year. So I think that's all I want to say this morning. We're running short of time, so we're going to move into the reports from the cities. Mayor Scott, are you on the line?
Yes, good morning. We're going to be holding our first city council meeting of the year tomorrow, and the workshop's at 3 o'clock, and the regular council meeting starts at 6. And we're going to be discussing several interesting topics, so I invite anyone who wants to join us online. It's a Zoom virtual meeting, and you can find the details of the discussion topics and decisions we're going to hopefully make tomorrow night. You can find that on our website. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Do we have Melissa Thompson-Kiefer from Nehalem?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to echo comments today that were made regarding being prepared for flooding. We did have to detour traffic yesterday around our flashing light intersection on Highway 101 here in Nehalem. And as Gordon mentioned, high tide today is expected around 1 p.m. So please do watch for high water signs. Please also be aware that we have a few buildings downtown that aren't elevated. So do go slow, and as it's been said, if it's not safe, turn around, wait for low tide. We do have some buildings, as I mentioned, that can take on water when cars go by too quickly and create a wake. So just wanted to reiterate to please use caution during this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Do we have Mayor Honeycutt on from Wheeler? How about Rockaway Beach? Mayor Wilson? Mayor Hall from Garibaldi? How about Mayor McCall from Bay City? How about Nathan George from the city of Tillamook?
Good morning, Commissioner. Can you hear me?
Good morning, we can.
Excellent, thank you. Yes, I do have a few updates this morning. Thank you very much. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone. The Public Works Department will be installing a new sewer pressure main on 101 North Main Avenue by the Lynn's Restaurant. We ask everyone to please be mindful and careful as the Public Works Department works on city property as they drive off and on 101 North Main Avenue with dump trucks and other heavy equipment. The Public Works Department will be excavating and opening a sinkhole on 11th Street and Fur Avenue to perform a repair. Again, we ask everyone to be mindful and careful as they work in the right-of-way with heavy equipment and trucks. The Public Works Department will start taking down the holiday decorations this week. We hope everyone had a chance to enjoy them. I know I did. The street sweeper is busy this week trying to sweep up all the sand from the winter storm. on the main thoroughfares in the town. We ask everyone to please be careful and watchful as a sweeper as it works in and out of traffic. Just a reminder, city offices will be closed on Monday, January 17, 2022, in observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And the next council meeting will be on Tuesday, January 18, 2022 at 7 p.m. for regular meeting. I also want to let everyone know that from time to time there are work sessions scheduled, which generally start at 6 p.m. These are open to the public as well. They're not always work sessions, so you must check the agenda online or post it at City Hall in advance. The agendas are always posted on Friday afternoon preceding the council meeting. Also just wanted to update a little bit since I got here. I started in this position in January of 2020, and we were just a few weeks shy of 1 year for me. So first I wanted to say how much I really enjoy working with an excellent city council and an excellent team of employees. As I reported to the city council at my first council retreat just 2 months after I started, there needed to be a lot of structure put in place. This included restructuring of business processes, portions of departments, workflows, and how the city conducts business. The biggest and most important portion of this was working to create a culture of respect, professionalism, and innovation. I'm pleased to report that while a lot of work, the results are outstanding. Second, and that's with every employee, because I do talk with every single employee. Second, over the next few years, we'll be working with our community to pull all our plans together and create an overall strategic and plan and vision. This will help the city tie together all of our other plans, goals, and projects we're working on. We have all kinds of things from Parks Master Plan, Water Master Plan, Wastewater Master Plan, Storm Water. We have all kinds of plans, and we're going to be working and pulling this together into one, not necessarily one document, but all pulled together so they can all be referenced and we can use them all the time when we're doing our businesses and nothing is forgotten. Third, along with creating overall vision strategic plans, so you will continue to work on organization details and information, such as cleaning up all documents, putting them in compliance with the state retention schedule. That includes all of our documents. As far as I can tell, the city has never kept up any of the retention schedule for the state or the state's retention schedule. We have all kinds of documents that we don't need, and we're getting that all cleaned up and organized. Also, one of those issues was our code. Our code hasn't been updated online since 2013. It hasn't even been codified, which means all the ordinances and resolutions in the council that were approved were never put into the book. Some pieces were put in there, but not done through a legal attorney. So we are working on getting that updated. That will be coming hopefully around the end of February. And once that is updated, it'll be online, it'll be searchable, it'll be clean, and every time we have anything that's approved by the council and type of law change will be put in that book within just a few months. It's a process it goes through, but it'll get in there and there'll be no confusion about what's actually been adopted. So I'm really excited about that. Also streamlining processes internally and externally and putting technology in place, such as eventually having a new website and other online features to submit electronic applications and so forth. So there's a lot of things happening. It's very exciting. We upgraded Office 365. When I got here, we didn't have shared calendars. Now we have shared calendars, and we have Excel and Word, and things are going around really well. So just wanted to report that. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Nathan. Do we have Doug Olson online from South Tillamook County? Doug, are you with us? Well, perhaps not. So with that, I would like to thank KTIL for broadcasting that this meeting has a lot of people listen to this meeting on the radio, and we're very grateful to KTIL for their partnership. Thank you for everyone for participating. Hello? Was that Doug? Well, I'm not sure.
I think it might just be someone unmuted, Commissioner.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you. Well, in that case, I want to thank everyone for participating and thank everyone for listening. This meeting is adjourned at 9:09 a.m. Thank you.